think we're holding by on Kufya Dal at 114 by Hari Elo Shaloi Mepnei Shabaylam Chulu. We learned the Mishnah. We learned the first piece of Gemara. Is that correct, Naftali? 114. Okay. We thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. In the course of our learning, we should have the base of English. Okay, we learned in the Mishnah that learning is in the zechus of Zahava Golda Bas Baruch Binyamin, and also for Refuah Shleima for whoever needs. We learned in the Mishnah that if someone receives a donkey from a tax collector or a garment from a robber, he's allowed to keep it because the owner gave up hope. Okay, so that's what we learned in the Mishnah. The Gemara continues. It says, Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says, it could be Ravasi. The reason why the owner gave up hope was because the robber was a non-Jew, and that's why the new owner, the recipient of it, is allowed to keep it because the original owner gave up hope. Avalistim Yisrael. But if the robber was a Jew, then the original owner didn't give up hope. It's a Jewish guy. Can't be that bad. We're going to take him to court and I'll get it back. So if that's the case, then the recipient would not be allowed to keep it. Very interesting. Maskefla Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef has a question. That's why it's probably not Ravashi, it's probably Ravasi. Because Rabbi Yosef is much before Ravashi. Rabbi Yosef says, Adarabba, I see on the side, the rush, the gears of the rush was that it was Ravasi. So Rabbi Yosef asks, Adarabba, Ipcha Mestabra. It's exactly the opposite. Akum Dedaini Begisi, the non-Jews, that their courts rule with strength and with pride, and they hit and they do all types of things. Loi miyayish. Over there, the original owner is not going to give up because the non-Jewish courts have much more power. But Yisrael, kivan da amri meimar, but by the Jewish court, where the court's just going to tell him, yeah, you should give it back. So then miyayish, then he will give up hope. It's the opposite, because the non-Jew is going to go to the non-Jewish court where they rule with force. The Jewish court, they're just going to tell him what they would like to see happen. The guy's never going to give it back. That's one pshat. Rashi gives another pshat. The Amri Meimar, they're going to tell me that I need to go bring witnesses, and then that it was mine, and with receipts and all of that. Then I'm not going to get it back. So the Jewish thief is the one that he's going to give up hope, and the non-Jewish thief is not going to give up hope because they rule much stronger. Yeah, it's an interesting machlekes. I mean, those philosophers, Sun Tzu, and those guys, the different types of government. Should we have government that's, very forceful, or or should we have less? That's basically the machlekes here in this. Okay, I'm sorry. Chesed and Gevura, right? So, if you want to quote Ravashi, or possibly Ravasi, then it wasn't talking about the case where there was a robber that took and the original owner gave up hope. It's talking about the end of the Mishnah, the second part of the Mishnah. In the second part of the Mishnah, it says, if someone rescues something from a non-Jew or from a robber, over there it doesn't say automatically Nisyai Bailam. It says if Nisyai Bailam, im Nisyai Bailam. Over there it gives me that condition. If the owners gave up hope, then in. But stama, but probably, in other words, by default, then they didn't give up hope. Laishanu ala akam mishum dedaini begaiti avalistim Yisrael kiven damri meimar miyayish. That was only, we were only learned that stama, they didn't give up hope. That's because it was a non-Jew that was the robber. That over there they're going to really enforce that he give it back. But if it would have been a Jewish robber, then we would say that he probably gave up hope. Exactly the opposite. And that was Rabbi Yosef's question on the way the Gemara was quoting Ravashi was so strong that we now switched it to tell me exactly what the question is, to tell me, turn the question into a statement. That if it would have been a Jewish robber, then we would assume that the owner does not, the owner gives up hope entirely of ever getting it back. Yeah, doesn't look good, but Tanan. We learned in Tanan Hassam. We learned in the Mishnah over there, trying to prove if the owner gives up hope. It says Shel Balabayas. If there was hides that belong to a homeowner. Now, what that means is these hides are being processed, and at the time when they're finished product, then they could become tamei. So the Mishnah says, "Shel Balabayas machshavim etamasan." If the homeowner decides that it's now a finished product, I'm going to use it as is. Let's say he was making it into he was tanning it, and he wanted to use it as a carpet. So you don't really have to do anything with it. You just have to a table mat, right? It's just going to be a plain hide, like a piece of leather. It's just going to go over the table or something. So then, if he decides that it's a finished product, he's just using it as is without any more sewing or processing. So then it's going to be considered a keli, and it will be makabel tuma. Shal avdan. Let's say the hides belong to a tanner. He usually sells it. So he's going to leave it raw, basically. He's going to tan it and then leave it in its raw form. Ein machshavim etamasan. He can't say that I wanted to use it as a table mat, because the purchaser may end up saying I wanted to make it into a belt or use it for shoes. And it's really not the finished product yet. It only becomes tummy when it's the finished product. Shel gazlan. Let's say it was stolen and now the thief tanned it. So we say that the thoughts of the thief, it's not a thief over here, it's a robber. The thoughts of the robber are going to make it tummy or not. If the robber decides I'm going to use it as this or I'm going to use it as that, it says, Ein machshava metamasan. His thoughts do not make it tummy. Now, his thoughts make it tummy means his thoughts that it's a finished product do not consider it actually a finished product. And now, why not? The reason is because there was an original owner here. That's the real owner. And he's the only one that can have those thoughts that would make it a finished product or not, which means that the original owner does not give up hope by a gazlan. That's what this mission is telling me. He still thinks that he's getting it back, and that's why he's still considered the owner of it. Remember, we said that Yush is one of the ways of transferring from one domain to another. So because he's not miyayish, it happens to be, it's in the wrong person's property, but it still belongs to the original owner. Yeah, that's what the tzedakah collectors say. That they have a lot of money. It's just in the wrong pockets. So here also, they have this leather is it's the original owners. It's just in the Goslin's pocket. It's in the Goslin's house. Shalganav. Let's say it was not a robber; it was a thief. So over there, machshavim etamasan. Over there, the thoughts of the Ganav will tell us if it's a finished product. Kuf Yudalad, Amud Aleph. The thoughts of the Ganav will tell us if it's a finished product. Now, what does that tell me? That the original owner gives up hope when it's a Ganav. Very interesting. The difference between a Ganav and a Goslan is that the Ganav sneaks in by night and he takes something and you don't know who it was. The Goslan just takes it out of your hand and you see him and he just says, haha, try to catch me or something. He just takes it and he walks away. Okay, so what we're learning here, this opinion, the opinion of the Tanna Kamma, is that the Goslan, you don't give up hope from getting it back because you know who it was. You can take him to court. The Ganav, you do give up hope by getting it back because you don't know who it was. That's simple logic. You know who it was. You can catch him and you'll get it back. You have a lead, right? You have a lead, you get it back. Okay, Reb Shimon Aimer, Reb Shimon, this is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, he says, Chilaf Advarim, it's exactly the opposite. Shel Gazlan, if it's a robber that you know who it was, then Machshava Metamasan, then you give up hope from ever getting it back. Because if he has such power that he can rip it out of your hand, so then then you give up hope for ever getting it back. He's too powerful. If it's a robber, then if it's a thief, then you don't give up hope from getting it back. You think you're still going to get it back. Why? Because maybe you'll catch the guy, fingerprints, something. Someone saw him. You'll get a lead and you'll be able to find him. The owners don't give up hope. So this machlekes here, where the owners give up hope more, when it's a gazlan or a ganav. Tanna Kamma holds the ganav they give up hope. They don't know who it is. Reb Shimon says the gazlan they give up hope because he's so powerful they're not going to get it back. Okay. Amar Ula. Ula says machlekes bestam. That machlekes is only without us hearing exactly what the person's feeling, what the person's thoughts are. Aval be a dua. But if you hear the person say, I lost my this, my leather, my something, I'm gonna have to go buy a new one, so then Divrei Hakol Yish Kani. Everyone holds that Yish, it's gonna be Yish. That's the opinion of Ula, which means that this whole discussion between Reb Shimon and the Tanna Kamma is only when we didn't hear the owner saying anything. Rabba says, Biyadu Anami Machlekes. Rabba says, no, even if the owner said that he gives up, it's not necessarily that he gave up. He's still in the back of his mind, he still thinks that he's going to get it back. He says he's giving up, that's just because he's a kvetcher. But
let's go back to Yushua Midas Aviyush. Is that the foundation of it?
It's so interesting. Over there it's Abai and Rava. Over there it's Rava. Over there it's a little different because Yesh Midas doesn't mean that we. 1 second. Yesh Midas doesn't mean that it's that we didn't hear him saying anything. Yesh Midas says he doesn't even know that he lost it.
Right.
And if he would know, what would have happened?
But if it's Haviyush, Kavachomer that over here, if Yushua Midas is Haviyush, according to
Haviyesh is according to Rava. But
so they don't bring him here as part of the
because that's a different discussion.
You would say Kavachomer from that.
No, because here it's a ganav and a gaslan. It's different than a aveda.
But if it's Shaloi Midas, it's Haviyush, Kavachomer, when you know Midas, that the guy says over here out loud, oh yeah, I gave up.
No, but the Shaloi Midas means that it's an aveda. Let me tell you, the aveda doesn't have a simon, right? There's no simon on it. The guy that finds it has no way of. I have no way of ever getting it back. The only thing is he picked it up before I knew about it, so I wasn't miyayish because I didn't know that I lost it. Over here, we're talking about that everyone knows whose it is, and the question is if you can get it back. Anyway, Amalei Abaya Rabba. Abaya says to Rabba, don't argue with Dula. The Tanan b'Masnisin Kavasei, I have a Mishnah that supports Ula. Ula says that it's only when we don't know what happened. But if we do know that he gave up hope, then we would consider it gave up hope. And we have a Mishnah that supports it. So Rabbi, you're getting yourself into hot water. You're arguing with Ula. He has a support from a Mishnah. The Tanan b'Masnisin Kavasei. What does it say? It says, our Mishnah says that what's the reason why you're able to save from, you're able to you keep it when you save it from a listim. That's because if the owners gave up hope. No, sorry. Is that the first one or the second one? First one is Harei Shalai, because they did despair. The second one is if they despaired, then Harei Shalai. If Nisyai Shabbat, then Harei Shalai. So the time Masis and Kavasei, the Mishnah said, Lefi, oh, it's been Masnisa. The Mishnah says because the owners didn't give up hope. Time at Leinus Yeshua Bailam. What's the reason why? What's the reason why you would have to that it's not there? It's not the next person that gets it because the Leinus Yeshua Bailam, Abel Yeshua Bailam. But if they would have given up hope, Hariel Shalai. Okay. So Amar Le says to him, Anan Lefishain Yesh Labailam Masninallah. We didn't learn it because they didn't give up hope. What we learned was that their giving up hope is not considered giving up hope. It's not even considered giving up hope. And that's what Rabbi was saying. So even when the person says that he gave up hope, we don't have to say that it means that he actually means it. You could say he's giving up hope. He says he's giving up hope because he's kvetching. But in the back of his mind, he really thinks that he's going to get it back. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure exactly where that quote was, because that quote is not a direct quote from our Mishnah. I thought it was Lafish, those words, Lafish Shalinus Yashua Bailam, is not in our Mishnah. Do you have where it's from? Yeah, so that must be not actually our Mishnah. That's not our Mishnah. That is the Mishnah about the leather. That's a quote from the Mishnah about the leather. And over there, the Mishnah ends Lafish Shalinus Yashua Bailam. Because it's because they didn't give up. But if they did give up, so he's not amending the text now. He's just saying that what the Mishnah means, that because they didn't give up, it means because they're giving up is not a real giving up. It's explaining it's interpreting their giving up, that we don't really accept it. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Tanan, it's taught in the Mishnah, Natlu muchsin chamayrai. If the tax collectors took the person's donkey, now a tax collector could be a thief. If it were the way we explained it was that he was a type of tax collector, probably that he doesn't have the rights to, he's taking too much, he's right without the authorization or whatever. So we're talking about that he's not a thief, but he's a robber, because you know who he is, right? So if the muhsin took his donkey, money, who is the opinion that says that the owner gives up hope? Rabbanan, if it's the opinion of the Rabbanan that says our Mishnah that the owners give up hope when there was a robber. So 1 second. The Rabbanan said the owner gives up hope by a thief, not by a robber. So Kasha Gazlan. So how is the muchas? How do we say that the owner gave up hope and the person that gets it from the tax collector is allowed to keep it because the owner gave up hope? The owner doesn't give up hope by a robber. He's going to go to the court and he's going to catch him and they're gonna get the money out. We said Reb Shimon, and if it's Reb Shimon, then Kasha Ganav. We said or list him. List him as the Ganav. Reb Shimon says that the owner doesn't give up hope by a thief. He only gives up hope by a robber. Tanna Kamma says the owner only gives up hope by a thief, not by a robber. So because we have two cases in the Mishnah, and both of them the owner gives up hope, it doesn't fit with Tanna Kamma or with Reb Shimon, because he would only give up hope by one of them according to each of these opinions. So Bishleim Ula Damar Biyudua Kani Achanam Biyudua B'divrei Akol. If you learn like Ula that the Machlaikas Reb Shimon and the Tanna Kamma is only when we don't know, because we didn't hear anything from the owner, but over here we heard from the owner. So we would say that the owner gave up hope both by the Ganav and by the Goslin. However, we would say, Elul Rabba Damar Biyudua Nami Machlaikas, but according to Rabba, that says that even if the owner said that he gives up hope, we still don't trust him. We think that he's just kvetching, and he really is hoping to get it back. Hamani, so who would be the author of a Mishnah? Lei Rabban of Lei Reb Shimon. It's not the Tanna Kamma, and it's not Reb Shimon. Now the question is, since we only know two opinions here, so we don't know who it is. We only have two opinions. Yeah, but this question is sort of like the doctor that only knows two diseases, and you go to him and you say, I don't know what it is. It's not this and it's not that. I only know two diseases. The Gemara is going to tell us that there's one other opinion that we didn't mention. Well, no, in the Tanna Kamma and Reb Shimon, we had a machlekes Ula and the Rabban and Rabbah, and if it follows Ula, then we have everything resolved. But if it follows Rabbah was explaining Tanna Kamma and Reb Shimon, it doesn't fit. So the Gemara answers. Ooh. Say that it's an akum. The owner doesn't give up hope, and if it's a Yisrael, so maybe by the akum you don't give up hope for either, maybe, and by the maybe we're talking over here about a Yisrael, and by the Yisrael you do give up hope. I hear what you're saying. You could play with this like then. Okay, so the Gemara answers Balistim Mizuyin. Verb Shimoni. It's a listim mezuyin. When we said listim, we thought that was referring to a thief. And Reb Shimon holds by the thief that he doesn't give up hope. So how was the person allowed to keep it? The owner didn't give up hope. They're saying no, it wasn't a thief. It was a listim mezuyin. It was an armed robber. An armed robber, according to this opinion, would be considered a gazlan. We had a machlekes earlier if an armed robber is a gazlan or a ganim, because he is afraid of people. That's why he's coming with a gun. If he really wasn't afraid of people, he wouldn't have a gun. A knife. So he's an armed robber. Reb Shimon, it's the opinion of Reb Shimon that holds that by a gazlan he always gives up hope, and that's why the Gemara has a problem with this. He says, "Yachi, I know gazlan." So why are you saying gazlan twice? The muchas is the gazlan, and the listim is the mezuyin is the gazlan. The Gemara says trey gavni gazlan. There's two types of gazlan. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It probably is like also scared of people, but they might take they might be armed because they don't know who they're gonna find. Maybe they're expecting to see one person and then there's actually 10.
Right.
And then they're scared that they might overpower.
Right.
But I guess that would also be.
Remember that story? I think it was. I don't know if it's it couldn't be a medrash. There's a story that someone said he had to take money from one place to another, and it went through the forest. It wasn't his money; it was but anyway, there was a robber there in the forest. The robber says, "Give me your money." He says, "Yeah, I'll give it to you, but you have to do me a favor. They're going to claim the money from me. I'm not going to be able to prove that it was stolen. I'm going to have to spend my time, paying back. Can you just shoot a few holes with your gun in my jacket?" So I know. So he shoots he says, shoot into my hat. He says, "I can't. I don't have any bullets left." "No, you don't have any bullets." And he chased him, and he. Okay. So, Toshima, come and listen. Haganav Agas. That was a mushal for something. I don't know what. Haganav Agaslan va'anas. A thief, a gazlan, and an anas. An anas is someone that forces you to give it to him, but he pays you the money. And you don't want it, but he's basically a robber, but he pays for it. He forces you to sell it to him. Hekdesh and hekdesh. When they have an item and they make it hekdesh, religious as well, it becomes hekdesh. Chumas and Chuma, they take Chuma to Chuma because they're considered the new owners. Meiser say Meiser, and when they take Meiser, it's Meiser. Okay, 1 second. Mani, which opinion would this follow? Rabbanan, if it's the opinion of the Rabbanan Kasha Gazlan. He said by a Gazlan, the Rabbanan don't give up hope if it's a robber because he knows who it is. He's planning on getting it back. So how could it be the Tanna Kamma? How could we say that it belongs to the Gazlan? It's still the owner. It's just in his pocket. Reb Shimon, if it's Reb Shimon, Kasha Ganav. You said that the same thing applies to a thief. It doesn't apply to a thief. According to Reb Shimon, by a thief, the owner doesn't give up hope. he thinks he's going to get it back. We can explain this mission according to Ula Damar Biyadua. We're talking about over here where we know that he gave up hope. And Ula tells us that if the person announced that he gives up hope, we trust him. So Achanami Biyadua V'Divrei would fit with everyone. Everyone agrees if he says that he gave up hope, and that's why it belongs to the thief or the robber. But according to Rabba, that says we don't trust him when he says he gives up hope. I think he's just scratching. Hamani, who is this? Rabbanan v'lei Reb Shimon. It's not the Rabbanan, it's not Reb Shimon. By the Ganav, it's not Reb Shimon, and by the Gazlan, it's not the Rabbanan. And we had all those cases. It becomes impossible to explain it according to any opinion. We're talking about over here when we said a Ganav. We didn't mean a Ganav. We didn't mean a thief. We meant he's afraid of people because he's carrying a gun, but he's really a list of Mazayan. But since we know who it is, so he doesn't give up hope. But so I'm sorry, we know who it is, and he's still strong, so he does give up hope, and it's miyayish. Okay. So then why does it say Ganav and Gazlan? If the Ganav is a Gazlan and the Gazlan is for sure a Gazlan, so then why does it have to say it twice? So it says Trey Gavni Gazlan. It's two types of Gazlan. Iba Yasema, if you want, we could say Hamani Rebbe. Now we introduce another opinion. We thought there were only two opinions here. We couldn't figure out who it was. Here's a third opinion. The Tani was started in a Brisa. Rebbe Yemer Ganav Kegazlan. Rebbe says that a Ganav has the same rule as a Gazlan. The only question that we have now is, and what is a Gazlan? It's Machlokes. So which one was Rebbe following? A Ganav is like a Gazlan. This is like algebra. You just don't know what Gazlan means, right? So what we do is v'kaimalan kegazlan l'Reb Shimon, and what we understand, what we've accepted, is that when Rebbe said a Ganav is like a Gazlan, it's referring to a Gazlan the way Reb Shimon learns, which Reb Shimon says that by a Gazlan the owner gives up hope, by a robber gives up hope. So according to Rebbe, both by the thief and by the robber, the owner gives up hope. And that would explain these Mishnayos that we were quoting, that we said that it's Hekdesh and Hekdesh, and etc. Yeah. Rebbe Yomer, Kufa. We go back to examine something that we learned from Rebbe. Rebbe Yomer, Omer Ani. I say Ganav Kegazlan. I saw somewhere why Rebbe is the only one that says Omer Ani. I say. And it was the question was that at the end of Saita, Rebbe says something. The Gemara says, "Don't say that there's still people that are humble. There's no more. Since Rebbe died, there's no more people that are humble." Problem is, why would Rebbe, the most humble person, say "Omer Ani"? I say, that's not humble.
I use that. It says I.
Oh, says I. That's better.
Sounds a good word.
Yeah, I think what it meant was that what this commentary was saying is that the Omer Ani is not saying you have to listen to me because I say. He was saying in a way of humility that I would like to say. I would have liked to say it. I don't feel the strength strong enough to say it, but I would like to say. There's two ways of saying Omer Ani. Okay, he says that Ganav Kegazlan, a thief is like a robber, when we just explained that it was following Reb Shimon, but the Gemara doesn't know that yet. Ibaylahu. Gemara has a question. Kegazlan de Rabbanan, Kamar? Is he referring to a robber, like according to the opinion of the Rabbanan, who hold like honey, that the owner doesn't give up hope because he knows who it is? Or is it the opposite? That a thief is like a Gazlan de Reb Shimon Kamar, in the opinion of Reb Shimon, that holds the Vikani, that says that the new owner acquires it because everyone gives up hope if it's a robber. Tashema, so come and listen. Not if the tax collectors took his donkey and they gave him another donkey, it says he's allowed to keep it. Mani, which opinion is this? Irabanan, if it's the opinion of the rabbis, Kasha Gazlan, why is he allowed to keep it? They hold that a robber, tax collector is a robber, the owner doesn't give up hope. Why is this guy allowed to keep it? It belongs to the other guy that they stole it from. Reb Shimon, and if it's this Mishnah's opinion of Reb Shimon, Kasha Ganef, it says that if it was a listim, if it was a thief, so then he's allowed to keep it. Why he's allowed to keep it? The original owner doesn't give up hope, according to Reb Shimon, if it's a thief. He thinks he's going to be able to get a lead and catch him. If you say that Rebbe holds Kigazlan the Reb Shimon Kamar, that is like the Gazlan of Reb Shimon, which means that if it's a robber, Reb Shimon says that he gives up hope. And Rebbe says that a thief is like a robber of Reb Shimon, which means he gives up hope by a thief as well. Bekani, good. Hamani Rebbe. So then we can follow that it's the opinion of Rebbe. Yishamachi Kani, that's why the new guy that just got it from the tax collector acquires it. Aliyamr Kigazlan the Rabbanan Kamar, but if Rebbe was saying that he's like the Gazlan of the Rabbanan, and he doesn't acquire it, Hamani, Lei Rebbe, V'lei Reb Shimon, V'lei Rabbanan, it doesn't fit with any of these opinions. Yeah. Not Rebbe, not Reb Shimon, and not the Rabbanan. The Gemara answers the answer that we said before, that we're dealing with an armed robber, and so therefore we're only dealing with the robbers here. And so that's why, and according to Reb Shimon, an armed robber, a regular robber, you give up hope, and this is an armed robber, which is the same. And that's why he gives up hope. That's why he's allowed to keep it. Gemara says, Yihachi, I know Gazlan. So why does it say twice, a robber and a robber? It says, Trey Gavni Gazlan, there's two types. Okay, we don't have a real proof yet. When Rebbe said that a ganav, a thief, is like a robber, we don't have a proof which way he's going with that. Tashima, so come and listen. A ganav, a Gazlan Vanas, a thief, a robber, and someone that forces a person to sell, Hekdesh and Hekdesh, which mustn't Truma Meiser Shem Meiser, when they consecrate something, it becomes consecrated. The Truma is considered Truma. The Meiser is considered Meiser, which means basically they're the new owner, and the original owner has given up hope. Mani, who holds that the original owner gave up hope? Rabbanan, if it's the opinion of the rabbis Kasha Gazlan, then why does he give up hope by the robber? He only gives up hope by a thief. Reb Shimon, if it's the opinion of Shimon Kasha Ganem, why is he giving up hope by the thief? He only gives up hope by the robber. If you say that Rebbe holds that Ganav Kigazlan the Reb Shimon Kamar, that a Ganav and the Gazlan are the same. In both of them, he gives up hope, like Reb Shimon holds. Mishum Hachi Kani, that's why he acquires it. Aliyamr Ganav Kigazlan the Rabbanan Hamani. So which opinion would it be if it's according to the Rabbanan? He doesn't give up hope by either of them. It says Ballistim Museum Reb Shimon. He's talking about an armed robber. Yachi Aino Gazlan. If that's the case, so then it says twice Gazlan. It says Trey Gavni Gazlan. Yeah, there's two types of robbers. Amalei Ravashi Larabba. I need to see the notes in our art scroll.
There's white collar, blue collar.
I have a big problem over here in this Gemara. Ravashi said to Rabba, oh, that's what they do. Correct reading is Ravina. Okay. I learned this morning.
So many generations.
Yeah, Ravashi, it would be impossible because I think the Gemara says, Kashemes Rab Yehuda Neilad Rava. When Rav Yehuda passed away, Rava was born. Kashemes Rava Neilad Ravashi. Now, Rava is a student of Rava. So if Ravashi was only born after Rava passed away, Ravashi was only born for sure after Rava's teacher passed away. So it would be impossible for Ravashi. So it's supposed to be over here, Ravina. Okay. So Ravina and Ravashi were contemporaries. Amalei Ravashi Larabba, but we've corrected it to Ravina. Tashima. So come and listen. The Masni Rebbe Reb Shimon Berei. This we learned a few times already. We mentioned this, that Rebbe taught Reb Shimon his son. When it says in the Mishnah, in the first Mishnah of the Perek, that if a person steals and then he passed away, the children need to return it if the father left them something that has achrayas, which we said was property. Rebbe taught Reb Shimon his son, it doesn't have to be actual property. Even if it's just a cow that he's using it to plow, or a donkey that he's using it to carry a load, he has to return it because in the honor of the father, that the people shouldn't say, oh yeah, that's the donkey, that's the cow that so-and-so, the Ganav, stole and his kids are using it. The reason why you have to return it b'nei kavod aviyim, that's because it's only because of the honor of the father. But let's say halav kavod aviyim, but if it wasn't the honor of the father, then you wouldn't have to return it. You don't have to return it. Shema mina, it must be Rabbi Gassan to Reb Shimon Kamma Shmamina must be that the reason why you don't have to return it is because it's been acquired by the Gazlan and the Ganav. Why'd they acquire it? Because they gave up hope. Which opinion? Who holds that they gave up hope by both? It would be Rebbe if he's following the opinion of Reb Shimon by the Gazlan. Rebbe says that a Ganav is like a Gazlan. We just didn't know which type of Gazlan. Is it the Gazlan? Not which type. Which opinion of Gazlan is he following? Is he following Rebbe or Reb Shimon? And now we're saying that he's following Reb Shimon. So he gives, according to Rebbe, gives up hope by both.
Would it be considered like changing hands when it goes to the heirs?
That was a machlekes in the Gemara between Rabbah and someone else. If Yoresh, if an inheritor is considered a purchaser. Yeah. Okay, v'chein nechel shel devarim. We spoke about a swarm of bees. Said that a person is allowed to go and take it from someone's field. So, and what did we say exactly? If the owner gave up hope, okay. My v'chein. Why does it say another case? You see, this was already understood from someone that saves from an overflowed river or something. If the owners give up hope, so the same thing. If the guy gave up hope, so then you're allowed to keep it. If the owners give up hope, you're allowed to keep it. I don't need an example. What about someone the robber took his shoes? You're going to say v'chein, the same thing applies to the shoes. Then you say v'chein, the same thing applies to his hat. You don't have to keep saying v'chein and also this and also that. If it's the same story, owner gave up hope, it's good. Why do we need specifically to talk about these bees? It would just be the whatever the rules are with giving up hope. That says hachi kamar. What it means to say is the following: afilu nechil shel dvarim dekinyan derabananhu. You don't really own those bees. Those bees may happen to make a hive in your property. Does that mean that it's yours? They fly around, they do their own thing. You don't control them. Try to control them, you'll see. You can't control them. They happen to be hanging on your tree, or they're in a box in your property, but they do their own thing. You don't really own. It's only the Rabbanan that said that no one is allowed to take it. It's your beehive. So it's a kinyan derabanan. Your original ownership in it is only a rabbinic ownership. Since it's only a rabbinic ownership that you own it. So then we should say that even if we don't know that he gave up hope, we should say that he probably gave up hope because he doesn't own it anyway. It's a weak ownership, and now we lost it because it swarmed. We'd say, okay, now it's nothing, absolutely nothing. And it comes to tell us that no, we have to know clearly that he gave up hope. Even though it's only a kinyan derabanan, only if he knows that, only if we know that he gave up hope. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. Yochanan ben Breika says in the Menes Isha Katan that a woman or a child are allowed to say where the swarm of bees came from. And the Gemara asks, Isha Katan b'nei Edasu. Can we trust a woman and a child to say testimony? They can't be used as witnesses. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Lachma Yiskin Gen Shabaylam Meradfim Achreim. We're talking about a special case. The owner is running after them before the child, before we heard anything from the child. So we know already that it belongs to the owner, and it's just these ishukat and misich lepituman. So that's just the support for what the owner's saying. Okay. They're just giving us support. Okay. Amar Ravashi says, Rashi says that the only time we trust someone, I didn't explain this. Means that he's talking in a way of a story, but not because he has any agenda. There's no agenda. Sometimes we'll trust someone because he had no agenda in saying this. So So Rav Ashi says the only time we'll trust someone that's talking Mesiach L'Pitumah if they're not a regular witness, but because of Mesiach L'Pitumah we'll trust it. That's only if we're allowing a woman to get married and someone is saying that they saw that the husband died, and they just said it as a story Mesiach L'Pitumah without an agenda. Amalei Ravina Rav Ashi, so Ravina says to Rav Ashi, that really makes sense now because the Gemara before was we switched it from Rabba to Ravina. It says V'loi. That's the only case you have. You don't have anything else. But what about when you have the swarm of bees? That was Mesiach L'Pitumah, and we trust the child and the woman. My answer, Shani Nechil Shel Devarim, the Kinin Derabanan who. The Nechil Shel Devarim is only an ownership rabbinically. That's what we're going to trust because it's only a rabbinic law. The Deraisa law, and if it's a Deraisa, we're not going to trust them. Bam Rabbi Yehuda Mishmol. Yehuda in the name of Shmuel says. Was the second teacher of Rabbi Yehuda. Story of a person that was saying a story of a person that was saying, it means without an agenda. He was talking, and he said, Zachrani, Zechurani, I remember, Zechurani, Kishani Tinak, when I was a child, Merkavani, Al Ksefer Shalab, I don't know if I'm getting the vowels right. I was riding on my father's shoulders, Veitziuni, Sefer. They took me out of school. If Shituni Eskatanti, they took off my clothing. But Biluni, and they put me in the mikveh. Lechal to B'Chuma, so I should be able to eat Shuma, which basically means that he's a Kayan. He's saying, I remember they used to do this. Rab Chanina Messiah Ba'achi, Rab Chanina concludes, my friends were staying away from me. They didn't want to make me tamei. But Yakaran, I see, and they nicknamed me Yochanan Echel Chalas. Yochanan, who eats challah. Yochanan was the name of a kayan, and it was like a classical kayan, right? And the challah eater, he eats challah because kayanim eat challah. The challah doesn't mean the loaves of bread on Shabbos. Challah means the dough that's separated. Ve'alu Rebbe lakun al piv, and Rebbe trusted him. My answer is b'truma derabanan. Talking about truma derabanan, even though that's a deraisa to eat truma if you're not a kayan. But here we're talking about only truma derabanan, which would mean that it's truma bisman hazeh after the korban. It's not considered truma deraisa. It's only rabbinic truma, and that's why we were trusting him. Akati deraisa loy, but we don't trust someone to say this, a child to say this when it's a deraisa. Kiyasa Rabdimi Amar Rabchana Kartigna. When Rabdimi came, he said that Rabchana Kartigna said, Rabchana Kartigna Mishtay, and some say that Rabbi Acha Kartigna said this over. Ma'isa Balafnei Rabbi Shua ben Levi, I think, right? Story came to Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Barmila Ma'isa Balafnei Rebbe, some say it came in front of Rebbe. Betinak Echad, one child, Shemasiach L'Pitumah. He was just saying a story. And he said, we were taken captive we were hostages amongst the non-Jews. I was never separated from my mother, even when I went to get water. I was thinking about her. Went to get some wood. I was thinking about her. And Rebbe said that she's still permissible to marry a Kayan. Now, if she would have been with the non-Jew, then she wouldn't be allowed to marry a Kayan. The Gemara answers that the leniency when it comes to captives, because it's only a doubt if there was anything that happened there. We just suspect, but because it's not 100%, so we can trust the child that's saying a story. Let's finish till the Mishnah. You can't cut a thick branch of the vine. Rabbi Shmuel argues on this. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, he says, Tanai Bezdinu, there's a condition that Bezdin made. That you are allowed to cut a thick branch. And when the owner says, but you cut my grapevine, I used it to make wine, and all of that, he says, okay, so take some of my honey, and you'll get it back. If there's two people walking, one of them has honey, one of them has wine, and the barrel of the honey starts to spill and crack, so there's a Tanai Bezdin, you should spill out your wine to catch the honey. Honey is more expensive than wine. Some honeys and some wines. That's how it works. So so what does the guy do? He lost his wine, so he takes it from the honey. If there's a donkey and two donkeys. One of them is carrying flax, one of them is carrying wood, and the one carrying the flax is collapsing. So you take the wood off and you put the flax on it because that's more expensive. And how does the guy get his wood back? He takes it from the flax. Because on that condition, Yeshua gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people, that they should be using their items to save other people. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Okay, Shakaya, thank you very much.